Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Let's now turn to our crypto corner presented by Intuit TurboTax Live. We are seeing Bitcoin slumping today in the session, now below that $41,000 level. This comes as crypto exchanges like FTX dominated the Super Bowl ad space this year.
Edison, can I be honest with you? It stinks.
Nobody's going to the moon, ever.
Why not?
It's far, it's too far, it's far.
の未来はポータブルミュージックです。
バカか。出て行け。バタリがいてもやるぞ。バタリ。
Like I was saying, it's FTX. It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm never wrong about this stuff. Never.
Let's bring in our guest, FTX US President Brett Harrison. Brett, I can't say I would have cast Larry David as the guy in a crypto ad. We'll get to that in just a bit, but let me just get your thoughts on the price moves right now. Obviously, we have seen it kind of move in tandem with the sell-off in the equity space too. You're coming off of a year where you saw huge volume growth in the space. How much of that momentum has kept up along with the choppiness we've seen on the equity side?
On the volume side, we've seen generally a slowdown, as you said, in tandem with the equity markets as a whole. A lot of tension right now with Russia and Ukraine, just general slowdowns in futures and equities across the board. And so we're seeing that in crypto as well. But as an exchange, we still see volumes relatively high, for example, compared to some earlier slowdowns after some of the big March increases last year, where we saw just general chilling of crypto markets. We're not seeing anything like that. So there's still retail interest in trading crypto right now.
There's been so much debate about what exactly or how exactly crypto is valued. And there was a period where we said it was, sort of tandem to gold. Now it feels like increasingly it's being traded like other risk assets, like these high growth tech names. I wonder how you view the recent moves and what that tells you about how Bitcoin specifically is being valued in the market.
During situations where there's general risk off across the board, now that assets like Bitcoin and Ether are such larger percentages of portfolios of large institutions, big portfolio managers, if people are selling, crypto is going to be affected by that too, no question. As for how you value something like Bitcoin, it's tricky. There's a lot of different ways to think about it. Is it the future value of all of the rewards given to validators? Is it some sort of store of value? Is it in its ability to be a low-cost payment transaction method? Do people think it has viability of a currency? There's a little bit of everything when people think about the value of Bitcoin. But yeah, during a situation like what we're seeing now in the markets, general sell-offs are going to affect Bitcoin pretty similarly to other assets.
Let's talk about that Super Bowl ad. You got a lot of buzz off of that on Sunday. Very cleverly scripted, I should say, with Larry David cast there. What was the thinking within the company in terms of placing that ad? Obviously, you shelled out millions of dollars, as did other companies, for a 30-second spot or however long that was. Not necessarily the impact, but what was the thinking in trying to get that prime spot during the Super Bowl and the audience you were trying to capture?
There are very few events for the United States where everyone's attention is on this singular moment, which is the advertising slots in the game of the Super Bowl. And for companies that want to emerge as known players in a relatively new industry where there is an enormous amount of skepticism and lack of clarity in a lot of sense as well, there's very few things that could be as beneficial as immediately get your name out there with an advertisement in the Super Bowl. And of course, that comes with its risks too. There are people who are generally expressing skepticism about crypto advertising and other kinds of advertising like mortgage advertising, et cetera, for the Super Bowl. But this is what we thought, that if we want to establish our brand dominance in the US, this is an important aspect of that plan.
And Brett, obviously, FTX not the only company we're showing this ad from Coinbase, which I found to be very effective, very simple, just had a QR code bouncing through. And we actually put the question to our viewers, because there were so many crypto ads during the Super Bowl. We asked the question, look, how many of you actually went out and bought crypto as a result of seeing those ads? And here's how the poll broke down. 87% said no, 12% said yes. What did you see? What kind of traction did you see on the back of your ad?
So naturally, we saw increased site traffic, huge increases in our social media following, and just general attraction to our social media channels, more downloads, more people using the app. But that poll is not surprising to me. The goal of an ad for something like cryptocurrency is not to make the world impulse buy, Dogecoin off the back of seeing Larry David to have a great funny script. The goal is to start to address the general skepticism in the market around crypto, but also to showcase our personality as a company, that we're people who get that this is something that's going to take a while for people to understand, for the technology to really infiltrate different areas of the financial sector and other areas like art, music, real estate, law, that we expect blockchain technology to have a role in. And this is just the beginning of that. This is not something where we want to encourage people to buy now and not learn for themselves. We want people to learn and be educated, understand the risks, and be a long-term believer in the technology if they come to understand it. And if they want to come to understand it, FTX and FTX US are great places to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine a lot of people who are watching the Super Bowl heard about FTX for the first time, who weren't necessarily interested in crypto initially. I want to ask you about what's playing on the regulatory front. Your competitor, Binance, now under investigation from the SEC, specifically about the ties of its founder to trading firms that work with Binance. That's raised questions about FTX as well, and the fact that you've got a market maker who's also owned by founded by Sam Bankman-Fried. How do you think this space should be regulated? I mean, should there be regulation that cracks down on this? We had a guest earlier this week who said, if you go into any one of these exchanges, it's kind of like those old driver ed ads or videos that you saw where there are violations everywhere.
So let's say a couple of different things. So the first is on the regulatory front, crypto exchanges need to be regulated in similar ways to derivatives exchanges like the CME, stock exchanges like NASDAQ. There has to be proper federal market oversight for cryptocurrency exchanges. As some people may know, right now exchanges are regulated as if they are MoneyGram, like money transmitters. But that's not the appropriate place to ensure, for example, anti-market manipulation, anti-spoofing, making sure that everyone has fair access and no one has unfair, extra information about customers on the exchange, which is probably one of the main things that the SEC is looking for when thinking about trading firms in connection to finance. So that's what we are pushing heavily for, is for either the SEC, the CFTC, some combination of the two, to be able to work together to create comprehensive federal market oversight for cryptocurrency exchanges. On the trading side, one thing that FTX is very, very serious about is fair access for all participants. If you think about an exchange like NASDAQ, there are certain players that have preferential treatment because they shill out millions of dollars every year for servers in the data centers closest to the exchange, in these co-location facilities where it costs an enormous amount for the server real estate. For FTX, no one has special access, whether you are a person in your garage, writing a Python program for the first time, or you're a giant HFT connecting to the exchange. It's all in the cloud. Everyone has the same access and fair access, and no one market maker firm has extra information that an ordinary trader or consumer, doesn't have. And that's something that we take extremely seriously, but it's up to us to regulate ourselves in that front. We really would like to see comprehensive rules across the board for all exchanges to make sure everyone's playing by the same rules.
Yeah, and it does feel like we might get a little more clarity from the White House next week as well in relations to the President Biden's executive order on crypto. Brett, it's always good to have you on the show. Brett Harrison, FTX US President, joining us today.